Okay, so this is a very quick video on making a curved corrugated roof. I'm not an expert, this is the first one I've done, and probably the last. So when I ordered the roof, it came in long sections and short sections, and each arch is made up of 2 longs and 1 short. As you can see, I am lifting them up onto a temporary platform up in the eaves of the building. Otherwise you could use scaffolding, I guess, or you could use a cherry picker. But I would say, if you are planning on doing what I'm doing, which is building the curves as you go, you do really want quite a big platform up there, because you will have to stand on a ladder on the platform and reach over in order to do all the bolts up, and you'll also have to have someone on the underside helping you. Otherwise, I think the actual official advice, if you've got the kit to do it like a telehandler, is to build each curve on the floor and then hoist them up and attach them together once they're up on the roof. One thing I have been told about that is to watch out for is that as you put each curve on, you'll start stepping up along the edge. So along here you'll have a step up, and it'll go up and it'll give you a jagged line. If you look down kind of the gutter line, if you look down there, you'll see a jagged line, because obviously where they overlap the circumference is slightly larger, and it'll push the next sheet up essentially. What I've done is added a little overhang so that I can put a gutter there. That's why the last roof failed, is because there wasn't an overhang and all the water was ending up on the wall plate, ring beam. Also, I've gone for this sort of T shape beam. Normally they sit on top. Normally the ring beam sits on top of the poles, but I've bolted each through there, and then the horizontal piece on top is screwed and glued, where it's using those timber fixings. Up there I built the triangle in 2 halves, in 6x2, and then I lifted them up there, and then the horizontal pieces are 4x2, and those are rebaited into the front, and that means that I have nice straight lines of screws along the front. To cut those sheets, I stapled this floor protection sheet to the front. So I covered the whole of the front of the arch in sheets, nice and square, and then I used a piece of wood and sort of ran it along the edge of the arch to trace a line into the sheets. Then I took them down, cut the arch out, as you can see here, one piece of it, and then I laid out the corrugated iron upside down, or back to front, and I used some spray paint to spray and trace the arch onto the sheets, and then I cut the sheets out with a metal sheet cutter. You don't really want to be using an angle grinder apparently, because it heats up the edges and can damage the protective coating. So try to use tin snips possibly, or find one of these and use that. But even after I used that, I did go along the edges of the curve and sort of straighten them up using a flap disc on an angle grinder. So I'll take you up here and I'll show you how it's all sort of connected together. So up here I've got a handy lean-to roof. I've been using turbo coach bolts, they're called, along that edge, and they've each got I can't remember the name of those washers, roofing bolt washers or something. Normally you'd use them under a nail on a flat, but I've been advised that they're also good for using on roofs and bolts. You don't screw the sheets together. For a curved roof you use bolts, and I've used stainless slot head bolts, and then on the underside they're diamond washers. They're just galvanised, and I've used a stainless nylock nut, although they do come with square nuts, which I'm sure they're square for a reason. I don't know the reason. Traditional maybe, but I just went for those instead. So that's pretty much it. Oh, to get the sheets up, so I definitely recommend, if you're doing it the way I'm doing it, drilling the sheets while they're on the floor down there. So you can see I've already drilled the holes, so this short sheet on top is due to go over there next, and I'll drop it over the edge, and I've just got these little supports that it'll sit on temporarily, and the next sheet will overlap this one and it'll screw through there, fix it down. So that short sheet I'll lean up against there, lean up against the previous one. I'll have a long sheet leaning up on here, and then I'm using that trestle just to support the edge. Then I will drill the bolt holes, so there's no bolt holes in those sheets yet. I'll drill the bolt holes in the next long sheet, which will essentially be these 6 holes, and once they're in, once they're drilled, I'll lift up the sheet and then just lift it overhead, drop it onto the sheets that are already here and onto here, and then line it up. So line up the bottom of the sheet with the other sheets, and yeah, and then it's a case of going along the edge first. So do that bolt, do this bolt, do the end coach screw. So get that full arch bolted first, and only then, once that is bolted, do you start working across and doing these ones. And the idea is you want to sort of make sure that this sheet is square, because they can sort of, well, they do want to turn inwards and give you a wonky roof. Obviously use a level along the top as you go, but I've found as long as you make sure these sheets are square with each other, surprisingly it does sort of level itself as you're going along. So I've just got the last one to do here, and then I'm going to have a very narrow curve that I need to cut and take across to the other side. I think that's pretty much it. There's no other videos on YouTube about doing them, so hopefully there's something useful in there. Well, the other thing, the mistake I made, is if your sheets do come in 3 sections, 2 long and 1 short, then the shorts have to go either on either side of the bottoms, so either the bottom there or the bottom there. They can't go ever at the top, because no matter what you do, you'll have an overlapping join at that point, which is the mistake I made on the very first arch that I put up. So there's an overlapping join just there, which will annoy me forever, probably. So don't make that mistake. Don't think that because there's 3 positions the short one can go in, that it can go in each of the 3 positions, because it can't. It has to go at the bottoms. And I'm missing a bolt there. So that's going to be fun on a ladder at some point to get that one put in. There we go, 12 minutes. Hopefully something useful in there. And yeah, good luck.